As you'd have learned in the previous lecture, SQL stands for Structured Query Language, which is a language for manipulating and defining data in databases. It first came into use in 1974 and became the standard in 1986. SQL gives us a standardized way of asking a specific question of a database, or for making structured query that a database knows how to respond to. So what SQL does is that it pretty much gives us a way for writing questions a database can understand. Databases aren't clever like us, and they can't figure out the meaning of questions the way human can. If you are supposed to ask a question like, how many goals were scored by France in the 2020 World Cup finals, you, a person, could pretty easily understand what I'm asking you. But ask the database the same question, you'll probably get whatever the computer equivalent of a blank stare is. The database doesn't know how to understand the meaning or the intention of my question. To make questions like this approachable for a database, we need to break them down into a series of smaller questions that are structured in a way that the database software can understand. Because it's such a powerful way of thinking about data, SQL has been adopted into many database products. In this course, we'll cover the basic and widely supported parts of SQL, whether you're working with Microsoft Transact SQL or T-SQL, MySQL, Postgres, or even SQLite and other databases. The way we say the name may be a bit confusing sometimes. Sometimes I use SQL, sometimes I use SQL. It all depends. So before we start building out SQL statements, we need to understand what the basic parts of a statement are. Overall, something you write in SQL gets an answer from the database or make a change to it is called a statement. SQL is generally whitespace independent, meaning if you want to add some white space or lines between clause or expression to make your statement easier to read, you can do so. In this course, we'll break statements across various lines in order to make them more clearly readable. I find it really helpful when I'm putting together a more complicated statement so I can see what's going on. A statement is made up of clauses. Don't worry too much about what this actual statement does right now. We'll see how to make clauses and statements later on in this course. Clauses are the basic components of statements, the smaller building blocks that make up the whole thing. These clauses are constructed out of various elements including keywords, which are special or reserved words which tell the database to take some action. Field names, which let us refer to fields or columns of data whose value we want to use. Table names, which tell the database which table to use. And predicates, which we use to specify the information or condition we're looking for. Predicates include a value or condition called an expression. A clause can be a statement if you are writing a really basic one. There are also operators, as we'll see later on, which let us compare equality or ranges of data or treat information in other ways. These keywords and operators are customarily written as uppercase, though usually they don't have to be. But it helps to distinguish the SQL from your expression and field names at a glance. At the end of the statement, we put a semicolon. This simply tells the database the statement has ended. While the semicolon is often required in order for the database software to accept the statement as valid, not all database software or database engine enforces this. So it's a good idea to get into the habit of using semicolon to end a statement, as you'd use a period to end a sentence. Any SQL we write that takes some kind of action is a statement, and sometimes you'll see a statement using the select word, often called a query. A query suggests that we are asking a question, and when we are using the select keyword, that's generally the case. SQL statements can also be used to add, modify, or delete data in a database, or even create, modify, and remove tables. When we use SQL to work with data in existing tables, that's SQL being used as a DML, or data manipulation language. These operations where we change data are generally called CRUD, shortened for create, read, update, and delete. CRUD is a command shorthand for referring to modifying data in a database. When we write SQL to make changes to the structure of tables themselves or change the database, that SQL being used as DDL, or Data Definition Language. In this course, we'll focus on all the CRUD operations, as at the end of this course, we want you to be a pro in SQL to help take your career to the next level, whether it be data analytics or database development.